And now, here's Mike Muse with the political news.
So let's get right to it and meet the candidates.
That completes the opening statement.
We're going to get right to it.
On Sway in the Morning.
Hey, citizens, every single Monday and Wednesday, Mike Muse blesses us with his presence, the Sway in the Morning, and does the political news. We're going to continue the conversation, obviously. We were speaking about this morning, Tracy G and I, and the entire Sway in the Morning crew, and the citizens. Mike Muse, I didn't even know this was part of your political news today, but obviously it makes sense. Good morning.
Good morning, HB. Good morning, team. How you guys doing today?
Hey, Mike Muse.
How was your sports-filled political weekend, Mike Muse?
It was nothing but politics. Although it was sports, it literally was nothing but politics.
Let's get started,
insane.
Mike Muse. Let's get started.
So we always talk a lot, and particularly the work that I do always, this whole intersection of politics and pop culture, and to really do a deep dive in terms of how sports really is a part of the political fabric, if you will. Sports has really been a part of activist movements. Sports has always been the neutralizer of what makes things okay to talk about, because at the end of the day, you want your team to win. So above all the other social issues, so we're more than likely to accept certain things. But for some reason, this weekend was a little bit different, Heather B. So this weekend, they started off with Trump being at a rally in Alabama, and here's what set it off for the whole weekend.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
So that is what set the weekend off. That was at a rally in Alabama. This wasn't even scheduled for him to even talk about this issue. So we expected Trump to talk about the health care that is kind of in limbo, maybe give us an update on what's happening with the North Korean crisis. But he used his time to really begin to harp on the NFL and to really call these players out and call them sons of a bitches, which created this whirlwind of a national conversation of debate that really led into why would a president of the United States, one, use that type of terminology and use that type of wording, but then two, why would someone offend American citizens for using their First Amendment for the right for the freedom of speech and to protest in the way that they would. Trump then went on to go further, Heather B. and Tracy G, to talk about on the Twitter. He says, going to the White House is considered a great honor for a championship team. Stephen Curry is hesitating, therefore invitation is withdrawn. So not only did you talk about the NFL and the owners and call the NFL players sons of a bitch, but out of nowhere you began to then single out Stephen Curry from the Golden State Warriors because he was deliberating on whether or not he should go to the White House or not to accept the trophy award presentation at the White House with his team and with his colleagues.
He's Jesus' friend. People love Stephen Curry.
Yes.
Literally, they love Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And so at that moment, this is when LeBron piped up and he said a tweet. And the tweet went, "You bum. Already said he ain't going, so therefore ain't no invite. Going to the White House was a great honor until you showed up. If a player wants the privilege of making millions of dollars in NFL or other leagues, he or she should not be allowed to be disrespected by that." And so now you saw two of the league's biggest sports players involved now with the president via tweet. And here's what Steph Curry had to say in regards to what Trump said to him.
Let people know I didn't want to, be applauded for an accomplishment on the court when, the guy that would be doing the patting on the back is somebody that doesn't, I don't think, respects the majority of Americans in this country. So it's kind of what I stand for, and hopefully that message rings loud.
So I want to be clear, as we're going through this conversation, this is literally a conversation happening between the President of the United States and two NBA athletes going back and forth over Twitter and over media outlets with the backdrop of North Korea actually piping up and saying that they are prepared to send missiles over to the United States mainland. But this is the conversation that we're having, and this is exactly what what LeBron James had to say in response to all of this.
You look at him kind of asking, the NFL owners to get rid of players off the field because they're, exercising their rights, and that's not right. And then, when I wake up, I see that, a colleague of mine has been uninvited of something that he said he didn't even want to go to in the first place, to the White House. That's just something I can't stand for, man.
Heather B., it goes on. That was Saturday.
Okay.
Now we're on Sunday. Okay. Sunday morning.
Oh, my.
So Trump continues to tweet. So the next Trump tweet, he says, the NFL attendance ratings are way down. Boring games, yes, but many stay away because they love our country. League should back USA. Great solidarity for our national anthem and for our country. Standing with locked arms is good. Kneeling is not acceptable. Bad ratings. But Heather B., then again, he sent his cabinet members out on the Sunday morning news circuit to double down on their support for what President Trump said. Let's hear from his Secretary of Treasury, Secretary Mnuchin.
You know, the NFL has all different types of rules. You can't have stickers on your helmet. You have to have your jerseys tucked in. I think what the president is saying is that the owner should have a rule that players should have to stand in respect for the national anthem. This isn't about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. It's not about race. It's not about free speech. They can do free speech on their own time. That this is about respect for the military and the first responders and the country.
We had, Mike Muse, prior to you walking in, we had several members of the military, past and present, chime in and said this isn't even about them. They're not offended as military people. So this is where I feel like I became confused, because I thought initially Colin Kaepernick, he did something to represent what was happening with the black and brown people of this country, in this country. How did it turn into a military issue?
It didn't. People had chose to turn it into a military issue. But I'm so glad that you went in that direction, Heather B., because it goes into these three categories that you and I were just speaking about earlier, which is one, paid patriotism, the second, which is selective patriotism, and then the third is what actually the issue is at hand. And I'll be curious to see if the military vets who called in earlier or who are on the line or who want to call in and let us know what their thoughts are about this, was that, Heather B., do you know prior to 2009, no NFL player stood for the national anthem until 2009. Before then, the players, they stayed in the locker room as the anthem played. The reason why they didn't start to come out, because the U.S. Department of Defense then at the time paid the NFL over $5.4 million in order to have paid essentially advertising to support recruitment for the U.S. military. So
Wow.
at that time, once the $5.4 million was paid, then you saw players come out of the locker room. Then that's when you began to see all these military presentations during halftime and pregame. And then if you recall, you started to see like field goal posters wrapped around the camouflage. That was all paid advertisement by the U.S. Department of Defense. So that was actually what paid patriotism was. So it wasn't as if the NFL has always been this patriotic system of American patriotism. It wasn't. It was paid. So the NFL actually got paid for that.
888-742-3345. Citizens, this is the time for you to be heard, especially people in the military. We would love to know how you feel about this. What are your thoughts, NFL fans? Call us up, 888-742-3345. Sway in the morning.